There are truths capable of completely transforming the way we live, and many of them are found in the pages of Proverbs. Among its counsels and warnings, we discover principles that shape not only the heart, but also how we handle what God places in our hands. The book of Proverbs is one of the greatest sources of practical wisdom ever written. Its words speak not only to the soul, but also to our daily decisions, including financial ones. In every verse, there are lessons about work, planning, generosity, and contentment. The Bible does not condemn prosperity. Instead, it teaches that true success is born from firm spiritual values and a life guided by prudence. Managing what we receive is an act of faith. We acknowledge that everything belongs to the Lord and that we are merely stewards of His gifts. Proverbs reveals that wealth without discernment is unstable, but when our choices are led by integrity, effort, and generosity, we find balance and inner peace. These 10 teachings remind us that money is a wonderful servant, but a terrible master. It can be a tool of blessing when placed in the right hands, but if it takes the throne of the heart, it becomes a prison. Now, I invite you to walk with me through the pages of Proverbs and discover 10 divine principles of wisdom that can transform the way you handle money, leading you to true prosperity, the kind that comes with peace, purpose, and faith in God. Let's begin. First teaching, trust in the Lord, not in riches. Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. Proverbs 3:5. Trusting in the Lord means recognizing that true security does not come from wealth or our own abilities, but from God, who sustains all things. Riches are unstable and can vanish, but the love and faithfulness of the Lord endure forever. This verse teaches us to depend entirely on God, not on human strategies or limited understanding. When we place our trust in Him, we find direction, peace, and wisdom for every decision. Relying solely on material resources is like building on sand. Trusting in God is building on the rock. Faith that rests in the Lord brings balance even in times of scarcity. He is the source of all provision, the only one who can turn little into abundance and uncertainty into security. Second teaching, be honest in business. A false balance is an abomination to the Lord, but a just weight is His delight. Proverbs 11:1. Integrity is the foundation of all true prosperity. Gains achieved through dishonesty do not last, for they lack God's blessing. The Lord delights in justice and truth in every transaction. Acting with righteousness shows that divine favor is worth more than any quick profit. A man of integrity may take longer to prosper, but his wealth will be solid and enduring. Honesty builds credibility, and credibility attracts opportunity. God blesses the heart that rejects deceit and remains faithful to the principles of truth. To prosper with justice is to glorify the Creator, showing that money is never more valuable than a clear conscience and fellowship with Him. Third, be generous. There is one who scatters and yet increases more, and there is one who withholds more than is right, but it leads to poverty. Proverbs 11:24. To be generous is to live according to the heart of God, who always gives without measure. Generosity does not impoverish, it multiplies. The generous person understands that everything they have comes from the Lord, and that sharing is an act of faith and gratitude. Those who give joyfully make room for greater blessings to flow into their lives, for God honors the open-hearted. On the other hand, those who hold back out of fear or selfishness close the doors to abundance. The wisdom of Proverbs teaches that giving is a form of sowing, and every seed planted in love bears fruit in due season. When we help others, we do not lose. We invest in the kingdom. Generosity is the channel through which God turns resources into miracles and provision into blessings. Fourth, work with diligence. The soul of the sluggard desireth, and hath nothing, but the soul of the diligent shall be made fat. Proverbs 13:4. To work with diligence is more than simply completing tasks. It is to act with purpose, dedication, and consistency. The lazy person desires results without effort, but the diligent one understands that every harvest requires sowing. God honors those who work faithfully and wholeheartedly, for labor is an expression of gratitude and worship. Continuous effort shapes character and opens doors that laziness can never reach. To be diligent is to act even when no one is watching, trusting that the Lord rewards work done with integrity. Every act of effort becomes a seed that, in due time, yields abundance. True success is born not from haste, but from perseverance guided by faith and discipline. Fifth, beware of bad company. He that walketh with wise men shall be wise, but a companion of fools shall be destroyed. Proverbs 13:20. The people we walk with shape who we become. Our companions influence our decisions, values, and even our destiny. Walking with the wise means choosing to learn, grow, and draw closer to God's will. Associating with fools opens the door to downfall and pain. The wisdom of Proverbs warns that wrong relationships can corrupt good character and distance us from divine purposes. Therefore, it is essential to discern who speaks into our lives and with whom we share the journey. God desires that we surround ourselves with people who strengthen our faith, inspire good fruit, and draw us closer to Him. Those who choose wise company walk toward wisdom, peace, and true prosperity. Sixth, plan before you spend. The plans of the diligent lead surely to abundance, but everyone who is hasty comes only to poverty. Proverbs 21:5. Planning before spending is a principle of wisdom that protects against waste and lack. Haste leads to impulsive decisions, but planning brings stability and prosperity. The diligent person analyzes, compares, and waits for the right time. The hasty one follows emotion and reaps regret. Through Proverbs, God teaches that good stewardship is part of being faithful with what He entrusts to us. Every expense should reflect purpose and prudence. Planning reveals both spiritual and financial maturity, showing that we trust God while also doing our part responsibly. When we bring order to our finances and seek the Lord's direction, He blesses our plans and turns effort into abundance, replacing worry with peace. Seventh, save with wisdom. In the house of the wise are stores of choice food and oil, but a foolish man devours all he has. Proverbs 21:20. Saving wisely is a principle of prudence that reveals maturity and vision for the future. The wise person knows how to set aside part of what they receive, understanding that every resource is an opportunity for preparation and stability. The foolish, however, spend everything they have, living without planning and reaping scarcity. God teaches us that caring for what we possess is part of the good stewardship He expects from us. Saving is not a lack of faith. It is an expression of responsibility and trust in divine provision. Balanced saving allows us to help in difficult times, invest with purpose, and live in peace. The true treasure lies in managing with gratitude and discernment, knowing that every good seed stored will bloom at the right time under the Lord's blessing. 8th, seek counsel. For by wise counsel you shall wage your war, and in a multitude of counselors there is safety. Proverbs 24:6. Seeking counsel is a sign of humility and wisdom. No one wins great battles alone, and God often uses people around us to guide and protect us from rash decisions. Just as an army needs strategy to win a war, we also need prudent advice to triumph in life. Listening to wise people is not weakness, it is discernment. Those who rely solely on their own opinion risk falling into avoidable mistakes. When we seek guidance from those who fear the Lord, we find steady direction and blessed results. Wisdom grows through listening and fellowship. Those who accept counsel walk in peace, avoid pitfalls, and enjoy the victories that come from God's favor. 9th, avoid unnecessary debt. The rich rules over the poor, and the borrower is servant to the lender. Proverbs 22:7. Avoiding unnecessary debt is a demonstration of wisdom and freedom. Debt binds, limits choices, and creates dependence, making the borrower a servant to the lender. God desires that we live in peace, and that includes financial balance. There may be times when borrowing is unavoidable, but the Bible warns us not to make it a habit. The wise live within their means and learn to wait for God's timing rather than seeking dangerous shortcuts. The rush to acquire what we cannot afford is a sign of impulsiveness, not faith. When we manage with prudence and contentment, we experience lasting peace and prosperity. True wealth is living without chains, trusting that God provides every need in His perfect time. 10th, avoid greed. He who hastens to be rich will not go unpunished. Proverbs 28:20. This verse reminds us that greed is a dangerous path that leads to ruin. Those who seek quick riches driven by ambition stray from wisdom and God's principles. The uncontrolled desire for money blinds a person's judgment, causes them to ignore values, and act without integrity. The hurry to have more reveals a lack of trust in God's provision and timing. The Lord calls us to work with honesty and patience, knowing that true prosperity is the fruit of faithfulness and character. Wealth gained in haste fades away, but the one earned through effort and integrity endures. God's blessing adds no sorrow. It enriches the soul and brings peace to the heart of those who wait on Him. The teachings of Proverbs about finances show that true prosperity is not measured merely by numbers, but by the wisdom and balance with which we live. Money is a powerful tool, yet it must be guided by truth and faith. When we apply divine principles, work, honesty, generosity, and prudence, we experience a wealth that goes beyond the material and reaches the soul. These lessons remind us that every financial decision is also a spiritual one. Being faithful in little prepares the way for much. Wisdom not only enriches, but also protects the heart from vanity and deceit. May each verse in Proverbs remind you that the Lord desires your prosperity with purpose, not just comfort. May God abundantly bless your financial life, open doors that no one can close, and grant you grace to prosper with balance and faith. May every decision be guided by heavenly wisdom, and may the peace of the Lord be the greatest treasure in your journey. Thank you for staying until the end. May the Lord strengthen you each day, and see you in the next video.